Hello and welcome to Talking Reds, a Nottingham Forest podcast, hosted by myself, Greg Oram, and fellow Forest fan from across the Atlantic, it's Richard Spray. We're going very patriotic this morning. How you doing, Richard?
Oh, man, that's great. Great. Getting my mind in the right place, Greg. Getting me excited. This is brilliant. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Awesome. Today, we continue our series of The One With. And we're delighted to have in the guest chair someone who is so far down under that he's practically about to enter Wednesday, demonstrating the far and wide fan base all over the world that Nottingham Forest have. We have the man behind one of the Forest Australia supporters Facebook groups, meaning that for the first time ever, Talking Reds is going out live from 3 different time zones in the world. It's 5 a.m. in Oklahoma, it's 11 a.m. here in London, and 9 p.m. in Queensland. And this is The One With Scott from Down Under.
Sing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, you'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. He sang as he watched and waited till his billy boiled. You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me.
G'day, Scott. How you doing?
G'day, Greg. Yeah, look, great to be here. Loving the introduction. A little bit of waltzing Matilda. Absolutely a good fair dinkum, true blue Aussie song. So loving the intro. Thanks, mate.
No problem. Listen, we wanted to go all Aussie themed as much as we possibly could, and make sure that you feel welcome. And we're so chuffed that you're here with us, and we're looking forward to getting into it with you today. Right, don't forget, if you are joining in with us in the comments, we want you to drop anything you want to ask Scott or ask us. We want to give you shout outs, all that kind of stuff, so please do let us know. Of course, if you're maybe listening to this on Apple or Spotify later on, perhaps you've got your headphones on, wrapping early Christmas presents, or not so early now, but on the 10th of December, then we're grateful for those of you joining us on the playback. Thank you so much indeed. I want to quickly mention Michael Antonio. We did an episode on Sunday evening, and I was remiss of me not to mention Michael Antonio, who, as everyone knows, was involved in a really serious road traffic accident on Saturday afternoon. The update is that he's doing well. The news broke that the car he was driving had been, seriously damaged in a way that can only be described as horrific. If you've seen the pictures, you can see that it was one of those ones where the worst could seriously have happened. He's had operation on his leg. He's going to be out for possibly 12 months. It could be the end of Michael Antonio's career. But the most important thing is that he's still with us. And we ask everyone who comes on to do their Forest 11. And so if I was ever asked to do my Forest 11, I would have Michael Antonio in my team. And the reason for that is that I think for that 1 year that he was with us, he absolutely just tore it up. And he stood out for me as a player in that period when we were in the Championship and not in the Premier League, who was just different class. So, Michael Antonio, we send you our love and best wishes. We hope your recovery goes well. We thank God that you are still with us and able to recover. And the Forest family won't ever forget what you did for us when wearing the Garibaldi red. Okay. We also would like to just quickly say this.
This is Talking Reds, a Nottingham Forest podcast.
If you would be so kind as to hit like and subscribe.
Hey there, this is Talking Reds, a Nottingham Forest podcast. We just wanted to quickly say how grateful we truly are for all your support. If you can quickly go to the like button and give it a hit, that would be awesome. And while you're there, please go ahead and hit subscribe too. That way you can be sure never to miss an episode. Apple and Spotify listeners, we'd love to get a 5-star review, if you've got the time to give us some feedback. Thanks again for all your support.
Okay, Scott, love the background you've got there, mate. NFC Australia. We start by asking all of our guests to tell us their own Forest story. So, how and why are you a fan, etc.? Take it away.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, I was. I'm born and bred. I'm born and bred in Nottingham. My dad was a Forest fan and lived in Lady Bay, which is just down the road. He grew up on Rutland Road, and his dad was also. So my grandpa was also a Forest fan. So yeah, so
Can I just interrupt you there? I never do this. Did you say Rutland Road?
Yes, Rutland Road. Yeah,
that's where my uncle lives, on Rutland Road.
Really?
Yeah.
But he used to live down near the corner shop, just down only like three or four doors down.
So your dad and my uncle will probably know each other, because my uncle lives at number 15. No, my uncle lives at number 15, which is down that side of things. So anyway, listen, sorry, that's crazy. We didn't know that. So I've interrupted you in your full flow, but crazy stuff. Okay, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So born and bred in Nottingham. Obviously got a strong connection to Forest. I remember I was thinking about this before I came on. I think my first game that I went to, I think my dad took me to a game when we played PSV Eindhoven. I think it was in the UEFA Cup. I remember it quite well. I don't remember the score, although I've since sort of searched it up. But I remember we were in the Brian Clough stand. And I remember the game, and I just remember getting the bug for it then. When I got a little bit older, and I was started to go to watch the footy with my mates, a few of us had season tickets, and we would stand in the Trent End this was obviously a few years ago now, when the Trent End was actually a terrace, and so many memories of that. We used to go for a few pints before the game. And then used to get to the ground, and I always one of my biggest memories was we always used to stand to the left hand side of the goal, and this was in the era of Stuart Pearce, and whenever Psycho used to run out, he used to come right up to the Trent End and really sort of charge everybody up and sort of really get everybody going, and the whole sort of crowd would be chanting Psycho, Psycho. So yeah, that was a real big memory. Of going to Forest games. Yeah, that was my introduction to it, and I've followed Forest ever since.
So what about what's the process then of how you ended up in Australia? Because it's incredible. Like you have a very similar story, I think, to myself in terms of your interaction and your kind of experience with Forest. But how did you end up over in Australia? I think it was 2003, right? You moved over there.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so 2003 was when I came over to Australia on a perm resident visa. I went to Sydney first, which is where I'd always planned to go. But I ended up getting a job actually in Melbourne, so I moved down to Melbourne for a while, and from there I kind of settled in Melbourne. And then I moved around a little bit more. I came back to England for a couple of years in 2014 to do a bit of Europe travel and spend time with family. And my sons were at an age where it was a little bit easier to move them around. And then we moved back to the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, the glorious Sunshine Coast. Beautiful weather, beautiful beaches, a fantastic part of the world.
Amazing. So as far as like how you've experienced the community process, like of building this sort of community of Forest fans, I mean, they're everywhere, right? Like Greg referenced. I mean, we Forest all over. They've got people that they spotlight, in places like the Bahamas and so on and so forth. So what has it been like? Do you find that there's a pretty strong contingency of Forest fans down there you've been able to connect with, or are you kind of like the genesis, the catalyst to building that in that area?
There's many Forest groups over here in Australia. Many Forest fans. The Sydney boys get together regularly. There was some chat on social media already today, because I think the Brighton game in February that's going to be starting. It's going to be an early kickoff, which makes it a better game to watch for us here in Australia. The Perth Reds, they they get together quite a bit as well. Then of course you've got the Melbourne guys, Brisbane as well. So look, there's lots and lots of Forest fans here in Australia, and really I just wanted to sort of share and trying to bring everyone together with the Facebook group, and just trying to share as much information as you can. There's so much good content. A lot of the time it's in different places, so I just really try and bring it all together and try and share as much as I can, and just really sort of promote Forest to Forest fans down here in Australia.
So how difficult is it for you to follow Forest from where you are, because you're about 10 hours ahead of where we are in the UK? So kickoff times, obviously, really problematic. So seeing live matches, if you want to see something at 3:00 in the afternoon here, you're looking at a middle of the morning over in Australia. It's very difficult. So how difficult is it to follow Forest? How often do you get together then to watch a match with? I mean, you touched on it then, that people get together. Is that something that you try and do at least sort of once a season? And have you made connections through your Forest group that you've set up? I mean, I know you set up one of them, which I touched on. There's another couple at least. I think you've got about 2,000 people that are in your group, and so through that group, have you managed to connect with people that you didn't realize live locally to you, for example?
Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah, we often do like a check-in. Sort of calling all Forest fans. Whereabouts are you based in Australia? We recently had the Forest Down Under convention. A couple of Sydney boys and one of the lads up here from Queensland were very heavily involved in getting that convention going. That was in April, and that was actually based up here, up in Queensland, in Brisbane. In terms of watching the games, you're absolutely right. That time difference can be quite tricky. So so as you said, a 3:00 kickoff. We're 10 hours ahead here in Queensland. So at the moment, 3:00 kickoff on a Saturday. That means it's a 1 a.m. kickoff here in Queensland. They're another hour ahead, daylight savings. They're another hour ahead down in New South Wales and Victoria as well. So that's a 2 a.m. kickoff. So you really got to be trying to stay up late or go to bed real early, get up again, and then it can be quite challenging. Sometimes the games, if you watch one of the midweek games, so the City game, which was just on, which probably wasn't the best game to watch because we lost that one. But that one, I think that was it 7:30 or an 8 p.m. kickoff over in the UK. So typically that would be like a 5:30, 6 a.m. kickoff for us, which isn't too bad. I mean, it does mean that you have to get up reasonably early, but still, to get to watch the team and watch them play. Yeah, so it's definitely worth setting the alarm a bit earlier and getting up for it.
Richard, let's have a look and see what's going on in the comments.
All right, we got Pat Brett, so we appreciate Pat. He's a regular, comes on with us. Grateful for him coming on here to join us. Yes, you Reds down under. Then we got Gary. We got Gary in the comments as well. Good morning, Gary. Appreciate you, brother. Bruce from Texas, one of the another one of those folks that are in my time zone at the given moment. So appreciate Brucey. Pat says good day. Says he can't resist. Has to do it. And then Danscape, yeah, this is, I don't know, you're treading on thin ice here, Dan, with the comparing Scott to Rob Jones, and one of the many enemies on the referee side for Forest at this point. But yeah, no, brilliant. And I think we got another little comment here from Gary. I remember years ago having to go on MSN to Pal in Sydney, and I have my radio on, and we'd sit and listen, and as he had nothing. Times have changed. I would agree with that. I was in the middle of the United States before the internet, never got a chance to check out the Forest match unless it was like in a major like publication like the New York Times or something of that nature. So yeah, we definitely have come a long way, haven't we, Scott and Greg?
We were saying before we come on, and for us to be able to connect, I mean, I'm in London or just outside. Richard's over in America, Oklahoma, you're in Queensland, Australia. I mean, to be able to kind of sit on the same broadcast effectively at the same time is absolutely nuts to see how far things have come on. So obviously, the access, the internet, the broadcasting that goes on these days makes it much easier for someone like you, Scott, who's all the way down under, to follow Forest and so on. And as you touched on before, you know, if there's an evening match here in the UK, it's easier for you because that's early morning still, and Richard's used to early mornings. So what do you miss the most then? I mean, you've been in Australia for just over 20 years. Thinking about Forest, I mean, when was the last time you came back over and got to a game live? Has it been 20 years? Have you been over since? I mean, do you ever regret it and think, you know what, I miss the footy. I want to go home.
My sons have really got into watching Forest as well. So they're always saying, oh, you know, when are we gonna head back to the UK so we can get to a game? The last time we were back was actually was this time last year. We went over for Christmas last year, right. And we were fortunate enough to get tickets to the Man United game. Would you believe it? We just played them just recently now. But last year the game, I think the Man United game was, I think it was December 30th. It was
it was just after Boxing Day. Yeah, that
was it. Yeah, and so we were very fortunate. We managed to get some tickets, although it was very difficult to get tickets through the club. It was very hard to get those, just normal seats. To go online and try and sort of get tickets from some of the ticket sites. I think we could have got 4 tickets, but there would have literally been, you know, all in different parts of the ground. And I was there with my 2 sons and also my dad, who still lives in Nottingham. He wanted to come as well. So to get 4 tickets seated together was going to be a real challenge. So we ended up treating ourselves, and we actually went in the Legends Lounge, which was pretty amazing. Although we're probably going to have to take out a small loan to try and pay it off, because it isn't cheap to get in there. But it was an amazing experience. If you can afford it, then I strongly recommend going in Legends Lounge. It worked well for us, as I say, because we could get the four seats together. The day itself, we set out quite early in the day. I'm always seeing things. I'm always hearing people talking about the Trent navigation. So we went to the Trent Nav, got dropped off just in the Trent Nav, went in there for a couple of beers, sort of savoured the atmosphere a little bit in the Trent Nav, which it looks like a really good venue. And then we sort of did the walk around, walked over Trent Bridge, which is an experience in itself. I always think. I think that's something I miss. I miss, you know, the sights and the sounds and almost the smells, the smells of watching a Forest game, because, you know, you walk over Trent Bridge, you see the ground, you know, open up in front of you. I remember it was a pretty dreary day, but that's fairly standard, right, for December in the UK. But it was a special day. It was terrific to go to the ground. We went up into the Legends Lounge. We saw Mark Crosley. They have a couple of sort of former players walking around, and Mark Crosley was in there. So I went and said hello to Big Norm. He'd just gone and won some sort of after dinner speaker award. So I had a quick chat with him about that. Congratulated him on winning the award, which was great to have a chat with him. He's very down to earth, good chat. Does a really good Brian Clough accent. There's loads of stuff online with his Brian Clough accent, doing his takeoffs of Cloughie. And Jason Lee was there as well, although he's obviously changed his haircut a little bit these days. It's a lot shorter the hair. So said hello to Jason Lee as well. Yeah, it was great. You know, you in there, you got a view of the river, a view of the Trent, the mighty Trent, and then you can kind of walk down into your seating area. And so yeah, it was a special day. And of course, the result, I don't know if you remember, that was the day when we beat Man U 2-1. So yeah, like it was.
I think we remember that. Scott. I think we remember that.
I just thought. So, yeah, it was a brilliant game.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, I just had a quick question, because you know, one of the amazing things I know that Greg and I share is that the way that we've been able to kind of carry on this legacy to our kids. So what's it been like for you? You know, we sort of jokingly say we've sort of indoctrinated our kids from an early age, and it's like they didn't really have much of a choice. I think we've even entertained the question of what would it be like if your kid loves some other club, like I think Greg would say, like Tottenham being so close to him, you know. So yeah, he's got the cringe face, I know. But what's that been like for you? Because it sounds like it's such a familial thing with you as well, from the origins for how you came to love the club. And so has it been something that your kids have always been interested in? Is this kind of a recent development? Because I know my son, from probably about the age of 6 or 7, he's now 14, has been pretty much, dyed to the wool, Garibaldi red, obsessed. Favorite player is Morgan Gibbs White. Do your kids have favorite player on the current squad? And so just kind of interested in that experience, what it's been like for you to share that with your boys, and any cool anecdotes you've had. It sounds like you may have taken them with you to the match. Did they go to the match with you? Did you say that? Yeah.
Yes, they did. Yeah. They went to. They were very committed to going to the game. They really wanted to go to the game, and it was a nice occasion as well, a special occasion that they went, and also we went along with my dad as well, and he had been to a game for a while. But yeah, I mean, for them, it's always like I've always supported Forest. I've always had sort of Forest shirts, or just Forest cups. I must have half a dozen Forest cups in the cupboard. So the boys, they pick out a cup from the cupboard. They'll almost always find a Forest one in there. Just watching Forest games, talking about experiences. As I mentioned, my dad's a fan as well, so we would offer, if we were talking about it between us around how they were doing, my boys would want to sort of get involved and sort of have a chat with it as well. In terms of favourite players, I think obviously Gibbs White is playing really well, so they do like Gibbs White. One of my boys was a pretty good goalkeeper, so he was pretty keen on Samba. So that's one player that he really likes. Although obviously Sells is doing a pretty good job at the moment and playing really well for us. But they just enjoy it. They enjoy it. We've got in the lounge room. We've got I've got a Forest flag. So basically the design behind you, I've got that as a big flag as well. I've also got like my Forest scarf laid on the back of the couch. So we try and make it a feel. We're trying to make any match that we watch that we get that sort of Forest feeling going when we're watching the games. Yeah, so it's just nice watching the games with them, and because they can, just a little bit of banter with the boys. Like we have just joke around some of the players, about some of the play, some of the other teams as well. Some of the stereotypes of other teams. So I do like to have a little bit of banter with them, and it's always good if they get up for the games as well, because otherwise sometimes sitting there, at 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning on your own, sometimes it's just nice if you've got someone else around and you can sort of fire a few ideas or fire a bit of banter off each other.
So how old are your boys?
They're twins, and they just turned 18. So just turned 18, they get up for the really late games more than me. Sometimes I get up a little bit later, but they're dead on kickoff time. Sometimes it takes me a little bit longer to wake up, but they're very committed. They sometimes get me and bring me down to bring me to the game.
Just jumping back into the comments, Danscape, a regular contributor for us on Talking Reds. What are the spiders like where Scott is? Important questions. You get some poisonous spiders, so you get redback spiders, but you don't usually see them. Usually they're hiding in sort of dark places. The spiders you do see, you might see some huntsmans, which tend to be big with big jaws. But they may bite. It's unlikely, but they're poisonous. Aren't they?
Poisonous.
They're properly poisonous.
They're proper size, yeah, as big as your hand. Some of them, big spiders, yeah.
So you've got spiders. Rich is not far away from alligators and stuff like that. A bit further south in Florida. I think I'll just stick to London, where we've got maybe the odd rat creeping around the drains. Danscape also says, has Scott bumped into Joe Lolly in Australia? Now, Australia's a big place, Danscape, so I'm certain that the answer is possibly no. But what kind of profile has Joe got in Sydney? Because he's now playing for Sydney FC, right? I mean, I've seen bits and pieces on social media. And the other question I want to ask you is, how big has football become in Australia now? What kind of profile does the game get over there? Because it's battling against, obviously, Aussie rules football, rugby union. I know rugby league is huge over there, cricket. So where does football come in the rankings, and what do we know about Joe Lolly?
Yeah, I think you just named quite a few sports there, Greg. There are a lot of sports here in Australia which are very popular. There's AFL, which is down in Melbourne, which is predominantly played down in Melbourne. Obviously, you've got rugby league, which is in Sydney. Football, it certainly has a following. I think it's a lot of there's in some of the I think in Melbourne there's quite a large sort of Greek population, a lot of Italian population similar to in Sydney as well. So there's lots of football followers there, and then you do get your contingent of English fans as well. I don't think it's as popular as it is in the UK, just because there are so many sports which you could watch here. But you get reasonable crowds. I think there's there were a couple of teams in Sydney, there were a couple of teams in Melbourne. The A League is the actual is the league, and there's obviously Brisbane Roar as well. Yeah, there are quite a few teams. I don't think the profile is that high. I think there are. I mean, you do get quite a few people that go to see the games, but it's not up there like it would be in the UK.
So do you get into the international side of this too? I'm just curious because of the way that, things have kind of evolved over time, I'm sure, with the profiles of things, social media, all that stuff, things are out there more prevalent. So are you an England fan, an Australian fan, or do your boys tend to have allegiance with one or the other? Because I know my son doesn't follow US at all. Actually, he's firmly entrenched in the England camp as far as international football. I know we're a Forest podcast, but I'm just curious.
So I do follow the international footy. I do follow England. I follow Australia a little bit as well, and my boys also follow England. So we were getting up at again some quite crazy times in the recent Euros when they were on. But yeah, I do like to follow England. Obviously, since Morgan's been selected for the England squad, obviously that adds a little bit more interest to it as well. And yeah, I do like to get up and watch the games. I mean, we've done. England are doing pretty well at the moment as well, so that helps. But yeah, it's kind of hard. It is hard not to support them. So yeah, I do enjoy the England games.
I've got a cousin who emigrated to Australia many years ago. She's in Perth. Last time I saw her when she was over was a few years ago, and I was surprised actually that she'd really kind of transferred her whole commitment to Australia. She considered herself an Australian, and if England were playing Australia in anything, she was supporting Australia. I was like, I just didn't really understand how that can happen. But obviously, your boys, obviously, I take it they're obviously born and bred in Australia, so they're born Australians, and I'm imagining that your wife, their mother's Australian, and my wife's Polish, so we've got a kind of a boy who follows Poland as much as England, and so Rich is touching on living in America and reaching back into England. So it's just kind of, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's just pretty amazing how everything can become so intertwined. And it reminds me of Jason Cummins, another former Forest player who famously transferred international allegiances from Scotland to play for Australia. And I actually thought it was because he'd gone down there to play and maybe gain citizenship and done it through that way. But I actually turned out that he gained or got the chance to play for Australia through his mother, who was Australian. So I know that he has since played. He played at Central Coast Mariners for a period. He's over in India now. So when you get a player like Joe Lully or maybe Jason Cummins, or I think one or two others have come. Carl Jenkinson was another one, I think. Does their profile get kind of put up a bit higher when they come over from the UK?
A little bit. I mean, I don't really follow the A League, the footy over here so much. So I did. We lived in Melbourne. I think I mentioned I lived in Melbourne for a while, and I think I watched a couple of the Melbourne games when I was down there, but I didn't sort of continue with it. But so I don't follow it. I don't follow it that much. And obviously obviously, sort of, I think you hear about some of the results on some of the TV programs, but it isn't something which I actively track.
So it's Forest, and that's it. Which is what we
Pretty
want.
much, yeah.
That's it. That's exactly what we want. Fantastic. Yeah. Okay, time for us to take a very quick break. We're coming up to, or just bang on 11:30 here in the UK, and so it's time for some of this.
This York shop is a cheese lover's paradise. The Cheese Trader is home to an array of fine British cheeses, not only selling it but offering an epic cheesy street food menu too. Guests can choose from a main dish and then select all the different types of cheese they'd like on top, alongside an array of other toppings. We tried their loaded fries and posh cheese toasties, both of which were absolutely smothered in gorgeous melted cheddar. We even chose a whole camembert to top our fries, which was so tasty, like a cheesy salt and pepper dish. The posh cheese on toast was some of the best toast we've ever had, with so many amazing flavours to it that perfectly paired with the cheese, tucked away just off Grape Lane. This is the perfect spot for a great lunch.
Our fantastic sponsor, the Cheese Trader, based in York. Stu Freestone, Forest fan, absolutely top bloke. Get your orders in for Christmas, guys. The Cheese Trader is busy, busy, busy. Quote Talking Reds, get 10% off every single time. What's the cheese like down under, Scott?
It's different. it's different. They do a cheese, a big block of cheese, and they sometimes call it tasty cheese. And I'm not sure you describe it as tasty. It tastes a bit plasticky. You can get some decent cheddars, and you can get a selection of like sort of French cheeses or mature cheddars, and so you can get a decent range of cheeses here in Australia. I don't think it's probably the same as the UK. I think there's a bigger selection in the UK, but you can still get some decent ones. You can still have yourself a nice sort of cheese board and get stuck into your cheese and biscuits.
Oh, good. You've got spiders. Richard's got alligators. I said I've got the occasional rat. Landscape's got badgers. So you've got to be careful of those badgers, because I think Gary's absolutely right. You've got to be careful of those badgers. One of them will have your arm off. Even a few snakes around Sheffield, Danscape says as well. I won't comment on that. So we're into the second part of the show. So let's do this.
The lightning round!
Yeah, as we always say, Scott, I don't know how popular Friends is in Australia, but it's obviously enormous in the United States, even today, right now being on Max and all that. But so we have a lightning round. So if you're familiar with that episode, it's coming straight from that. So just a few quick fire questions. So what was your first Forest match live?
First Forest match live. That was, I think it was one I mentioned, that would have been PSV Eindhoven. Forest with PSV Eindhoven away. I think it was 1984. The game.
Nice.
Looked it up. Yeah.
Excellent. Prime Cluffy era. What about favorite Forest player of all time?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think it would probably have to be one of the players from the 1990s. That was when I think I had a season ticket for a couple of seasons, and I used to go to games regularly. I used to. I mentioned Stuart Pearce and how he would kind of really get the Forest fans going. Loved his commitment, loved him as a captain and as a leader. But his defensive partner, Des Walker, was always pretty special as well. You'll never beat Des Walker. The speed that he had, always a tough one. I'll go Des Walker. I'll go Des, just because he was an incredible player. Des, such speed and very, very hard to beat.
Fantastic. So what player in Forest history would you like to see on the current squad? It'd be hard to replace Milenkovic with Des Walker, as brilliant as Walker was.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Ooh, that's a good. Which in history would you like to see on the current squad? If you think about some of the standout players from down the years, you think around some of those. Absolutely, we had some incredible players in the sort of the 79 and 80 team, which won the European Cup on the 2 times on the trot. Maybe someone like maybe we could add someone like John Robertson to our plethora of wingers, which we already have. But we could add him into the mix as well, and get some quality deliveries in the box for Chris Wood to nod in for us.
That's right. Hey, I'm not going to argue with that. Your favorite away or third kit?
Oh crikey! There was it the one last season where you had like the blue. It was some on some social outlets they described it as looking like an Argentina kit. I think it was like the blue and the white. I actually quite like that kit. I don't necessarily like the Argentina kit, but I did like that kit. I thought that looked good. Yeah, that was a good third kit.
Fantastic. What about your favorite Forest moment or memory?
I think I'd have to go to fairly recent times. I think we'd have to go to Forest playoff final, winning the game, Premier League, here we come. After so many, after 20 odd years of hurt, 20 odd years of division, bouncing between Championship, Division 1, sometimes getting into the playoffs in the Championship and just falling short and just going through, I think it was more, we went through more managers, I think it was about 20 years and we went through more managers. So we went through 20 plus managers in those sort of 20 odd years when we were in the Championship and Division 1. So I think all that hurt. Then when we got back into the Premier League, won the playoff final, that was a pretty special moment. I think that was something really special. So I'm going to go with that one.
That's a great choice. I think a lot of people have made that choice, right, Craig, on that question.
Right.
If you weren't a Forest fan, so this is the tough one. This is the deep thinking, pulling on the heartstrings here. If you weren't a Forest fan, what club would you support?
Oh, blimey. You put me on the spot here. I can't say. It's the clock's ticking.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm going to have to come back to that one. I need to be careful what I say. I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Can't come back.
You can't come back. I mean, I can't really say I'd go for the. I kind of follow the county scores, but it doesn't necessarily. I want them to do that well.
Sorry, did I break your concentration?
I'll say Brisbane Roar. Brisbane Roar.
There you go. We'll go with that. I like that.
Brisbane
That's a good
Roar,
answer. Yeah, go local. Relatively local. Apart from Cloughy or Cooper, who was your favorite Forest manager?
Frank Clark. He was. Although saying that, Nuno's pushing his case right at the moment, isn't he? He's doing
I agree with that.
A fantastic job. But I'll probably go Frank Clark. I've found him. He always seemed very. I thought he was a really good manager, and that team in the 90s, we played some good footy under him, and we were doing very well with Frank Clark. So I'll probably go Clark. Yeah.
Excellent. If Forest could sign one player from a non-top 6 side, who would it be? Villa, Bournemouth, Fulham.
Yeah.
Wolves.
I'm thinking, which positions do we need to strengthen at the moment? And because there's the January transfer windows coming up, so there's talk of which players should we be looking at. Maybe another striker, although Super Chris Wood, and obviously we've got Taiwo on the bench. Maybe someone like Ollie Watkins from Villa, someone like that. He's a good. Yeah. I think his runs that he makes off the ball, different type of player to Chris Wood. But I think someone like that, a player like that, I think Morgan and his passing range, I think he could really provide opportunities for a striker like Watkins from Villa.
Yep, brilliant. So, based on what they do on the pitch right now, who is more valuable to Forest, Morgan Gibbs-White or Murillo? And it's not necessarily like monetary value, because I think we kind of know what the answer is to that, but just in terms of the how the team's been playing and.
Yeah. No, that's a really tricky question, because obviously Murillo, defensive stability, setting up very well with Milenkovic now, and that whole kind of confidence and strength from the back I think that gives confidence to the whole team moving forward up the pitch. But if we didn't have Morgan, who's going to kind of create those opportunities? He's doing really well in that 10 role, but potentially you could play Anderson in the 10 role maybe. I'll go Murillo, because a lot of times people talk around, you've got to build from the back. You've got to make sure that you've got your defence right first before you can then think about further up the pitch. So I'll go with Murillo.
Fantastic. All right, last one. Forest win the Premier League, but are then relegated into the Championship for the next 25 years. Would you take it?
No, I'm not sure I would. I'm not sure I can do another. I'm not sure I can do another 25 years.
I'd love to win the Premier League, but I don't know about that futility. Another quarter of a century of futility. That would not be fun.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate.
Yeah, excellent. All right, well, that was the lightning round. Appreciate it, Scott. Great job. Thank you.
I am so good at lightning rounds.
Fantastic. Okay, let's move ourselves on. It is Tuesday, the 10th of December. Yes. Behind door number 10, we have Nikola Milenkovic, the Serbinator. Yes. Jimmy has come up with a lovely cartoon that we put on screen. The Serbinator, that's his new nickname. A Serbian international defender. He joined Forest in July this year from Fiorentina, known for his 6'5" towering frame and presence. Milenkovic has brought vast experience from Serie A and the Serbian national team, known for his competitiveness and relentless drive to win. Milenkovic has elevated the team's mentality. His experience and influence extends beyond the pitch, with coach Nuno describing him as contagious and a key figure in Forest's resurgence. Milenkovic's arrival has transformed Forest into serious contenders for European qualification, with defensive solidity now a hallmark of the Forest game. His impact has been tactical, psychological, and he's driving a collective improvement across the squad. And the guttural roar on Saturday evening after he powered in the bullet header for his first Forest goal summed up the passion and drive in our Serbian powerhouse.
He hits the derby, where's Garibaldi? Oh, Nicola, la, la, you won't get past that, big sad bastard, Nikola Milenkovic.
Nikola Milenkovic, an absolute legend. And that means that I now want to take you to your all-time Forest 11, Scott, because you've got Milenkovic in your team as well. So I held it back just for this. This is Outback Reds, the Outback Reds. And we've got Brice Samba in goal, Stuart Pearce at left back, Jed Spence at right back. There's Walker, who you mentioned, alongside Nikola Milenkovic in centre back. In the midfield, we've got John McGovern and Roy Keane. So you've got 4-2-3-1. Robertson on the left, Brennan Johnson on the right, Morgan Gibbs right in the 10 behind Stan Collymore. So time is moving away from us. We haven't got time to go into too much detail about these players, but one player I wanted to ask you about was John McGovern. Now, I know that he is a double European winning captain, but he hasn't really featured. I don't think he's featured at all. I can't recall it anyone's team so far. And I always thought that John McGovern was the unsung hero who did so much for the team in terms of leadership, etc. But why has he made it into your team, Scott?
I think you just summed it up perfectly. He was the unsung hero. I thought, as you say, the double European Cup winning captain. I don't think you can be a captain of a team that achieves so much without being a pretty special player yourself. And I think he just acted as almost like that glue in midfield. He kind of helped that team, because there was a lot of the 79 and 80 European Cup winning teams had a lot of really quality attacking players. You mentioned Robertson, you had Trevor Francis. You had so many players that were excellent attackers, but you needed somebody to sit and really sort of hold that midfield and keep it together. So that's the main reason why I picked John McGovern.
Fantastic. The Outback Reds, they're on the screen, guys. A team to rival any that has been selected so far. I don't think there's any wrong answer when it comes to choosing the team that you would have, because it's a personal choice. It's about the players that have meant something to you over the years you've been a fan for, however long that is. So you've mentioned in this episode already the likes of Des Walker and John Robertson and Morgan Gibbs-White you've mentioned, and there's McGovern and Pierce getting a mention. And Samba, you talked about your one of your sons, or who likes to be a goalkeeper. Bruce Samba, an absolutely fantastic player for us, and one that we do miss, even though Matt Sells is definitely upping his game. Thanks ever so much for putting that together for us, Scott. I wanted to talk to you about the season so far. We're fifth in the Premier League. But it's the points tally that matters. So places don't really matter at this stage. Sum up how you've been feeling about Forest this season, Scott.
Quite simply, how good is it being a Forest fan at the moment? Fifth in the league. We obviously just beat Man U 3-2 last weekend. We beat Liverpool away from home as well. No manager. Nuno's the first manager that's actually beaten both Liverpool and Man U away in the same season. So yeah, look, it's I often joke. I feel like I have to pinch myself, because for us to be fifth, for us to be doing so well, we're playing good footy. It really is special. I think as well, like the transfers as well. Like I think it was before the end of last season, there was a lot of talk around, we're going to have to sell either Morgan Gibbs-White or Murillo, and then all of a sudden we're like, no, we're not. We're going to keep both of them. So the recruitment's been fantastic as well, because we've brought in Anderson.
We're going to sell Niakate for 100 million instead.
And we sold Vlachodimos as well to Newcastle.
You know what I mean?
Which was unbelievable, to balance. I think there was a bit of books balancing. I think the bean counters had to do a little bit of a creative accounting there. But yeah, it's just, with the recruitment's been fantastic. We've got a set formation, that 4-2-3-1. We just seem to know what we're doing. Nuno's got us playing, good counter-attacking football. It's fantastic, and I genuinely think sometimes I do have to pinch myself. I think did we get up to third, or maybe even second? We got up to third, and it's like, when was the last time we were third in the Premier League? It was 20 plus years ago easily. So yeah, look, it's great to be a Forest fan at the moment, and long may it continue, because we've had some tough old years. So just really pleased that we're playing well. We're fifth. We just got to keep it going.
So how are you feeling about the match coming up then, after Manchester United? Because we probably feel a lot different if that match had been different, had a different result, which thank goodness it didn't. But how are you feeling about Villa, and just what are your sort of like, has your expectations sort of been recalibrated with all that's happened? Because you touched on we got as high as third. I mean, based off where we've been the last 2 seasons, it's remarkable just the ascension we've made. Your expectations change, and how are you feeling about how we're going to play against Villa next week?
I think, you've got to remember as well, obviously, we just lost to City. We lost to City midweek last week, and then we lost to Arsenal not long before that as well. Obviously, 2 very good sides, and away, we were away in both games. But so we still got to have that sense, we still can't get too ahead of ourselves. Beating Man U is fantastic. I think we stand a very good chance against Villa this weekend. Villa play European football in the week. I think it's either tomorrow or Thursday. So I think for them playing European footy, perhaps maybe a little bit tired. That's affecting their game a little bit. They're not quite hitting the heights of what they've done last season. So I think we have a very good chance. I think we've got a really good chance against Villa. I think we're in good form coming off the back of the victory against Man U. So yeah, look, I'm confident that we can get a result.
You touched on Villa this season, competing in the Champions League and playing European football, which is what, of course, they would want, and we would love that as well. But it kind of made me think about our own situation and what we might achieve this year. And it's a question that I've posed on here, and I'm going to continue to pose to people that come on, which is it going to do us any favours to qualify for Europe this season? And what I mean by that is it going to be too much too soon? With the squad we've got, which is great, we're doing really, really well. We are where we are in the league. Are we better served maybe just getting a nice top 10 finish, top 10th place finish, and not being in Europe and just adding another layer to that squad? I know we've got another couple of windows to do that, but things take time to gel and so on. So what are your thoughts on, do you want European qualification come hell or high water and think, sod it, let's just cross that bridge when we come to it? You know, if it impacts on us next year, as long as we don't get relegated, we could have a season in Europe, finish 17th, and I'd be happy with that. Where are you on all of that?
Oh, I think we should continue to establish ourselves in the Premier League. Look, you being in Europe, it will be fantastic, but I think we need to keep building. We need to strengthen the squad, continue to play good, exciting football, consolidate in the Premier League. I think maybe if it's not, if we don't get Europe this season, then I think next season. But I think we still need to keep building. You know, you've got to remember we've only had 2 seasons in the Premier League, and we just scraped. We just stayed in the Premier League. This season is probably our breakthrough season, in a way where we're actually playing well, and we're at the moment we're 5th. So for us to maintain that type of form and to maintain that type of league position, I don't think we need too many distractions or midweek games, tire the players out. Do we have a squad strong enough? I'm not sure we do at the moment. I think we've got a good squad. Don't get me wrong. I think we've got a great squad, but I don't think we've got a squad which has enough players and the right quality of players to mount a serious European challenge and maintain our status in the Premier League.
David in the comments says that we should 100% push for Europe. David from Cognac, that is. He also says, weirdly, Villa becomes a must-win game. Quite sure I subscribe to it being a must-win game, David. Perhaps you'd like to share in the comments what you mean by that. I mean, must-win in the sense that we want to solidify staying in the top 6. I think the points total we've got so far is beyond anything any of us thought we'd have at this point in the season. And I'm not the kind of mindset at all that says, oh, we should just be happy we're not getting relegated. You know, we've pushed on and we're having a fabulous season, and we're getting some important results away at Anfield, away at Old Trafford. We all know about that. But, you know, losing away at Man City and losing away at Arsenal, okay, they were 3-0 games, or 3-0 results, in fact. But, you know, first and second in the Premier League, you know, I kind of feel that's probably where we are still, even though City have had a bit of a rocky patch. They're still a fantastic team, even with missing Rodri and so on. And, you know, we had our chances in both games. You know, sometimes, you know, you're going to lose games of football. We've lost 4 this season. Thinking about squad depth then, Scott, and thinking about building, do Forest need to sign a striker in January?
I think there's rumours that is it Evan Ferguson? I've heard that we're looking at him. I think there's a few other Premiership teams as well that are also pretty keen on him as well. I think so. I think we do need another striker. Obviously, Christian Wood is having a sensational season and, you know, breaking our goal scoring records, which is absolutely brilliant for us. Taiwo, I don't think he's still not quite hit those heights. The trouble is, you know, do you give him, if you want to give him time on the pitch to get him really, you know, sharp and match fit, then you've got to take Chris Wood off. So I think having another option with someone like Ferguson or whoever it may be. But yeah, I think we should be looking to further increase the depth of the squad and get ourselves another striker in.
So from the squad standpoint, who's your player of the season right now?
Oh, I think I'd probably have to go Milenkovic. You know, you talk to him, and I really like the Servonator thing, and I'm loving the videos, and it's brilliant. I think I'd go Milenkovic. When you brought the my all-time 11, I think Milenkovic, him coming in, he's given that confidence to Murillo. Murillo was already a very good defender, as we all know. So he's given that confidence to the back four, and now that's literally sort of pushed its way through the team. The midfield feel more confident now. He's a big lad, 6'5", very good in the air. So some of the problems we were experiencing last season from set piece, he's kind of really added an edge, an aerial defensive edge to us. So I actually think Milenkovic, because I think he's created that strength in defence, which has pushed its way forward to midfield, and so the attacking players feel like they can go forward, and they've got confidence that the guys behind them are defensively going to hold firm.
Fantastic. Okay, right, Scott, listen very carefully.
Okay, clear your mind and answer the first thing that comes into your head.
Yes, it's that time.
Name that grandmother.
Yes. My little madcap moment is here. So, name that grandmother, Scott. Marmite, love it or hate it?
Absolutely love it. I've got loads of the stuff in the kitchen, but you can't get it. You can't get it here. I have to. My sister sends it over for me.
Amazing. You got the old Vegemite over there, mate. How am I cooking your steak?
Oh, medium rare.
What's your favourite cheese?
A nice mature crumbly cheddar.
What's the best sandwich?
Ooh, so many to go for. Probably bacon. I don't know, a good bacon and egg sarnie. Can't be a good bacon and egg sarnie, I think.
And in tribute to the segment, what are your grandmother's names?
Oh, so my grandmother who lived on Rutland Road. She had a very traditional name from that generation. I think her name was Dora.
Lovely.
And then I'm not sure on the other side. It's been so she on my mum's side. She died a long time ago. God, that's terrible. I'll have to find out. I'm not sure.
No problem. I kind of hate these kind of come out of the blue. People are thinking, why are you asking me my grandmother's name? Well, we like to be a little bit random over here. And I did say to you beforehand as well that I had created, especially for you, another little segment to add on to the end. And so, because he's one of my favourite characters of all time, and in fact, I was very lucky to meet the guy and go out for drinks with the guy about 20 years ago. And I'm talking about Alf from Home and Away. This is...
Flaming Mongrel.
You flaming mongrel. Oh, yeah, mate. So, I'm asking you to think about Australia versus the UK. Who's better? Is it Australia or is it the UK? Nice, easy one. Who's better at football?
Got to be the UK.
Who's better at cricket?
Oh, well, we just beat New Zealand. England test team just beat New Zealand, but the Aussies have just gone and beaten India as well. So, and it's the Ashes next year. Or I'd say it's even at the moment. We should just sneak it though.
Rugby union.
Well, we just lost. We just lost to the Aussies at Twickenham. So probably the Aussies are slightly ahead of us at the moment in rugby union.
Australia or the UK? Who's better at drinking?
Oh, I think that would be hard to separate. I think the Aussies love a drink. They don't.
Got to choose one. Got to hurry up.
Oh, I'm living in Australia at the moment, so I'll say Australia.
Who does it better, the UK or Australia, when it comes to soap operas?
Well, Neighbours and Home and Away are pretty famous, although I haven't watched them for years. And I'm not sure Brookside. I've never really watched Brookie, so I'll go Australia. Australian soap operas.
Who's better at telling it like it is?
The Aussies do not sugarcoat. They like to serve it raw, as you could say, in the cricket, they're never shy of an opinion of if a batsman's not in form. They'll definitely let him know with a little bit of advice.
And so, who's better at swearing?
England.
One final question. Which one do you like best? This one?
Neighbors. Everybody needs good neighbors.
Or this one?
Don't we belong together? You and I forever and
Oh, Home and Away. I actually used to listen to when I was a student many years ago. Always used to prefer Home and Away because it was nearer the beach. I think that was a sign from years to come because Neighbours is based in Melbourne, whereas Home and Away is based in the sort of the beach suburbs of Sydney or northern beaches, right at the very top. So I used to prefer Home and Away.
Neighbours and Home and Away. I mean, Richard, I don't know if you ever caught any of those. Obviously you've been, but obviously, they were huge over here, probably bigger than they were in Australia. So I had to kind of like dig deep into the sound effects archive to pull out a couple of those themes. We've hit the hour mark. We're out of time. We're done and dusted. It's been an absolutely fantastic episode. And we're so pleased, Scott, you could join us. I want to give you the chance to give us some closing thoughts. Anything you want to say, you can plug your group. Over to you, buddy.
Thanks, Greg, and thanks, Richard. Look, just great to be on. As I say, it's a fantastic time to be a Forest fan. Really happy that we're doing well. I mean, look, if there are any Australian Forest fans, please do get onto the Facebook group. Share all sorts of content on there. Just trying to share the Forest love around and share all how well we're doing. So look, it's amazing time to be a Forest fan. So yeah, really happy.
Thank you so much again, Scott. Over to you, Richard. Give us your closing thoughts, mate. Lost your microphone.
Sorry, I keep clicking the button and not doing a very good job of it. So appreciate you. It's just a privilege. I mean, like Greg and I talk about all the time. It's just every week we just get more and more grateful for the people that we've been able to connect with, and so you're a part of that now as well. And just what a gift it is. So appreciate you, Scott, taking the time, and just grateful that you represent this great badge that we have, this great club that we support. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Once again, guys, we hope that you will help us along by
Hey there, this is Talking Reds, a Nottingham Forest podcast. We just wanted to quickly say how grateful we truly are for all your support. If you can quickly go to the like button and give it a hit, that would be awesome. And while you're there, please go ahead and hit subscribe too. That way you can be sure never to miss an episode. Apple and Spotify listeners, we'd love to get a 5-star review, if you've got the time to give us some feedback. Thanks again for all your support.
Thanks again indeed for your support. If you can subscribe, we want to try and get to that 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Any reviews available on Spotify and Apple would be great. We don't get many, so if you feel like being a bit of a wordsmith and giving us a little bit of a review, that would be fantastic. We'll be back on Thursday coming up when we're going to do the Aston Villa preview with Dan Scape and the Random Pundit. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been the one with Scott from Down Under. We'll catch you next time.